Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of Sports News. This time we're going to talk about money slash economy, which has kind of come to the fore a little bit recently as well, given all the economic crisis and stuff that people are anticipating and or experiencing. And kind of the differences between, or the disparity between economy and labour, or whatever, that we've been seeing as well. People seem to be pretty worried about the economy ending, as if the necessities that we have are reliant on the economy and on money, which they are not. We had them before we had money. And I've been thinking about, since I had time off work during the lockdown, I was kind of thinking about what are essential services and what we really need. And it just doesn't really seem like money is working for people. People are working for money. Whereas it should be the other way around, kind of. Like, it's supposed to be a tool that makes it easier to value or evaluate and exchange things, whether they're objects or services or whatever. I don't know, whatever. We all know that that's kind of gotten out of balance and out of hand, blah, blah, blah. And I don't know, it seems like, looking on like the internet and shit, it seems like there's a bunch of people around who think that the money is the fundamental part of things, and that the labor and resources comes in on top of that, as if the necessities that we rely on are reliant on money and economy, not the other way around. Which is pretty funny. Like, I wonder what these people really think they need, or that keeps their lives going, but whatever. It just got me thinking that, like, I mean, a lot of people think that the system of money is about how we access things, and it becomes the way that we access things. Like, people think that I need money because you have to have money in order to access things, and that's the motivation that they keep going to their job, even though it's meaningless or whatever, and it's not, even if it's not contributing to the world, and even if it's not really contributing to the industry that it's a part of, it's just there because it's a job and because you can have it or whatever. Especially like in the government and bureaucracy and shit, but whatever. But actually, the financial system is also what holds us back from resources that we need and services that we might need or whatever. Because if you don't have them, then you're not able to access the things. And the way that it's laid out in terms of, private property and fairness and the rules that separate people from each other and belongings from each other, means that people can use the system to exploit each other and take hold over the resources and withhold them from other people. And that's the rules of the economy, enabling people to do that. And it's because of us agreeing to and following the rules of the economy and of society that people are able to do that. Because it's the law, and we agree that the law is right and that we all follow it. And we don't just go into the shop and take things. We give money for them, which is directly giving money to people that have money, usually. And carrying on that flow of money, upward flow of money, from people who have less money up to people who have more money, usually. And the argument is that, but those rich people also pay the wages of the people who work for them, who are basically the less rich people and poor people. But even if it means that those people have like enough money, doesn't mean that it's fair, and doesn't mean that the system is working for people to be able to have things. It still means that the people who have all the money are choosing how to distribute the access to resources. Because money is not really a thing in itself, it's a signifier of real things. Like having $10 or whatever shows that I'm able to gain something that's worth that much money. So having money in itself is not really anything in itself. It's the potential to do and have other things. But people have already for a while started to see that money is the goal, or that money is a force in itself or whatever, and have stopped kind of focusing on things that are actually important to our lives and livelihoods. Anyone who has ideas about what they think should happen in society is withheld from actioning them unless they have money, and then you have to kind of petition to people who have money or resources to be able to try and do those things. So even the attempts to kind of resolve the imbalances in the world are being held back by money, or by that arrangement of resources whereby, if you don't have access to kind of that flow of funds and resources, then you can't have much sway over that flow. And if the people who do have sway over that flow, or do have a lot of resources, don't want that system to change, which is common because it's the system that keeps them wealthy and powerful and whatever, and kind of keeps their gratification moving through, then there's just, why would they fund you to do some really useful, generous act, or, kind of start a more balanced system or process or action or whatever? So long as you believe that that system is the way to do it. But we still do have systems and relations outside of that system. Like personal relationships are not actually governed by that system. The system is governed by our immediate relationships. So if we, make that change from that foundation of society, which is within our immediate relationships to each other and to the world, and the patterns that we live in, then we are able to shift that kind of flow of resources. Even if it's just by sharing the resources or services that you do have in a different way, or even just relating to people in a different way. People believe that those people have power, and thereby give their power over to those people. And it's the same with the government. The government exists based on an agreement, which is that, they have certain rights and we have certain rights. And if you break the law and you get punished for it, that's part of that agreement. Whether or not we actually agree, we effectively agree. And people who don't agree, now it's at a point where people who don't agree kind of just get forced into agreement through the police and other kinds of pressure of the legal system and whatever. So long as we continue to act in accordance with that agreement, then those people and parties still have power. And the more we change that agreement between ourselves, the less the kind of powers of those people are relevant to what we're doing. People are talking about Jeff Bezos or whatever, the Amazon guy, becoming the first trillionaire. Not that I know what that even really means. It can't really even mean anything to anyone. It's just a really, really big number. And some people are like, oh my god, what an amazing businessman. And some people are like, how dare he, it's disgusting, like he shouldn't be allowed to do that and shit. But both of those attitudes are buying in to the fact that he can do that and that it matters that he's doing that. Like, I mean, what matters is that people are doing what he wants. And we say that that's because of money. And people do it because they think it's because of the money. And because we're all participating in this agreement about money and about fairness and about, like, you get the money if you do the work or whatever. And you get the resources if you pay the money. But it's still just an agreement. And we can change the terms of the agreement if we want to. And the more people that want to, the more it will just change. But if people don't realize that they want to or that they can, then it won't change. And so, like, even if your ideas change and you think, I hate Jeff because he's so rich or whatever, that's not changing your participation in the flow of capital or the flow of power, because you're still sending power up to him at the top, even if it's through negativity or whatever. Like, you're still positioning yourself as inferior to him because of his money and power that you believe in. But it's possible and preferable to not believe in that power, because it doesn't actually... We're making it matter by believing in it, but it doesn't have to matter. Like, it's just money. And, like, don't you think it's kind of embarrassing for your point, like, your kind of, like, distinction, to just be that you've got all these credits? Like, who ultimately gives a shit about credits? You do, and everyone else does. And that's why he's so rich, because everyone's like, yeah, I can get anything I want off Amazon, and that's why he's rich. And, like, people are like, oh yeah, I can get a job. I don't care if it's only $6 an hour or whatever, because I need a job. I mean, there's like all these different ways that we participate in the system and continue to support the accumulation of imbalance in or as that system that we don't necessarily need to do. So the more we create relationships and kind of like dynamics and flows that are contrary or just different to that system, the less it matters that Jeff Bezos has like $1 trillion, because the meaning of $1 trillion is different. Like, if you subscribe to that meaning of what $1 trillion is, or $1 billion, or $1 million, then you subscribe to having all these feelings about it that control your actions, and they kind of govern your pattern of behavior in the world, which is your real existence in the world, which is the real existence of society and economy. So, like, you can change the shape of that real existence by changing the shape and patterns of your, like, input into the world or whatever. I mean, like, yeah, we're out of lockdown in New Zealand now, pretty much. Everything's allowed to be open now within certain restrictions. And, like, a lot of people are just getting straight back on it. They just want to go shopping and they want to put their money into the box or whatever. And, like, I don't know, like, I guess I had a good time being away from it and nothing being open, and the only thing I bought during that time was food and tea. And everything else I did was just kind of like not consumerism. And now that it's back, I'm kind of like have no motivation for it. Even the stuff that I vaguely kind of do like buying books or whatever. Like, I went to the bookshop and I'm like, yeah, it's kind of nice to be here, but like, I don't know, like my habit of it died off more from having the break where I wasn't able to do it. And it just seems like so much more obvious how little we need all these extra commodities, and like how useless they are and how like effectively destructive they are in being useless. Like, on the one hand, we don't need them. Or maybe we don't even want them, but like we're sucked into having them or having to have them, or like this kind of like power game of showing what you're able to have or something. I don't know, it doesn't matter. But and on the other hand, like they're fucking it up for us. Like they're gonna fuck up the environment by producing them, and then when we throw them away, fuck it up a little bit more. But like that is the extent to which people are dissociated from, I don't know, life, like what it is that we actually live in, or what our existence actually is or entails. Not to get all philosophical, but like of course it's harder to find fulfillment if you're like completely disconnected from the actual kind of like foundation of your life. I mean, like, I would love to see people value money less and less and value real, or, you know, closer to real or more essential relationships and services and resources more. And for the kind of like status of just having and accumulating resources to just drop off, and for there to be much more like kind of like dynamic and deep engagement and like sense of meaning between people in the world in a more widespread way. But it's like pretty disappointing and like frustrating to see all these people just like jumping straight back into the drive-through queue at McDonald's on the first day back that the first day that they're allowed to. Like, a lot of the problem that we're dealing with is not the people who are gaining, you know, like not the people with the power and the resources who are manipulating everyone, even though they kind of are, but like the overwhelming mass of people who are that malleable by those powers is such a huge part of the problem. Like, not wanting to grow or change or see your relationship with your environment or the people around you and the ways that you do actually have an impact on it and do have power and do have the ability to do things. Like, making a change is actually not such a big deal. You just have to shut the fuck up and do it and stop thinking about it and stop worrying about like what the risk is and like what the loss might be or whatever. Because like if we're really able to develop or change like in a wholesome and positive way or whatever, it's not going to matter what the loss is. If you have enough between everyone, what is there to lose, kind of? Like, there's no deficit in the whole world, but we're creating the patterns of deficit and profit in our belief system.